Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy March 31st, 2025 to you and yours. What a weekend in sports, and we have a jam-packed show for you today on the program. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Wow, what a day, what a day, what a day. I can't wait for this show. One of my most anticipated shows, I think, of all time because of who we have joining us. And at 12:10 today, we have Bennett Andersen joining us on the program. We're trying to make this work. If he has to back out last minute, then it's just the nature of the beast. Because when you're a member of the Florida Gators Final Four team, your schedule's a little hectic these days. So Bennett Andersen, you remember the name? Jesuit Tiger. This is a guy that, what an incredible story for him. Intramural champion, doing so many great things there up in Gainesville. Every single time he gets a chance to step on the floor, people go nuts. So we'll talk to Bennett. He's got about 10 minutes for us if he can make it. That'll be at 12:10 today. At 12:30, our guy Ian Beckles will stop by to talk about some of these new rule changes in the National Football League. 12:45, Matt Joyce, MLB All-Star, former Tampa Bay Ray, another guy from right here in our backyard. He is going to join us to talk about the opening weekend in Major League Baseball. Also, the Rays taking 2 of 3 from the Colorado Rockies and those new torpedo bats. I know people are getting bent out of shape, but newsflash, anybody can use them, and you still have to make contact as well. So you definitely want to hear that conversation at 12:45 today. We'll also talk about my March Madness brackets. I want to hear about yours. Do you care that it's pretty much all chalk and there's no Cinderellas? We'll get into that. A successful weekend for Tampa Bay overall. I already alluded to the Rays winning 2 of 3. How about the Lightning winning another game on Saturday afternoon? They honored Ryan McDonough. I was over at USF. More on them in a second. But another win there for – okay, I was just making sure. Another win for the Lightning on Saturday, and you look at that standings right now in the Atlantic Division. Toronto keeps winning because of the loss by Florida. It looks like the Lightning are right now in second place in the division. So if they were to finish in that spot, they would have home ice over the Florida Panthers, but we know it's going to get hot and heavy here over the last 10 games or so for the Tampa Bay Lightning and every team in the National Hockey League. And how about USF? Keep on winning, keep on winning, keep on winning. USF baseball, my goodness. A sweep over Tulane. Before the season, Tulane was picked 3rd in the conference, USF 7th. Mitch Hannes has these guys rolling. We're going to work on trying to get Corey Braun or somebody on the program this week to talk about baseball. Softball, they split the first 2 games yesterday. They're down 7-2 in the 7th inning. They come all the way back. A home run from Alana Rivera and a home run from Dania Brooks. Derek Brooks' daughter. She's going to join us on the program tomorrow at 2:15. USF women's lacrosse smacked Vanderbilt on Saturday. There's just a lot of wins. There's a lot of good things going on in the Tampa Bay area. I know everybody out there feels very, very good. If you want to chime in on the podcast, we're doing the super chats now. So if you could donate $1, $2, $5, whatever you can do to help the program, every single little bit helps as we continue to move forward to try to get this thing bigger and better than ever. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Man, baseball on Friday. We had the last time we were on air was on Friday. And I got to be honest with you. I wasn't surprised when I heard some of those fans chanting at Stu Sternberg because he spoke on Friday Didn't really say much. I know whatever he said really didn't ring any alarm bells of, wow, we're on a way to, a solution here. There's still a lot of people, and there was fans chanting at the game, sell the team. And you can hear that on the broadcasts. We're going to hear that throughout this season, especially when the ball's not good. Luckily, the team's good, so there'll be a lot of things to cheer about, so you won't hear that as much, but not much of a surprise that we heard that on Friday. Great to see the team come away with a walk-off win. It didn't look good there for a while. Rays fall on Saturday before bouncing back with a win yesterday, and I love to see some of the ball that we've seen so far from the Rays. I've been saying this for a long time with this team. If you're not going to go out there and spend money on bats, and I understand that's kind of what you have to do if you're not going to spend a lot of money on your payroll. Well, you got to do different things offensively to put runs on the board. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing some bunting. We're seeing some stealing. We're seeing moving runners. We got to harken back to the Joe Madden days here and get creative offensively, because if you can get your team a lead, or you can stay in the game, especially at home, especially early in the season, with those pitchers, whether it's the starters or the relievers, you give yourself a really, really good chance to win. So I love that open-mindedness. I love the ability to be versatile and think outside the box, and don't just sit there and wait for the 3-run home runs, because sometimes it doesn't happen. Get the ball on the ground, put the ball in play, put pressure on the defense. Listen, that's kind of what this team did when they were able to go to the World Series those 2 times. Constant pressure on the opposing pitchers and defense, whether it was B.J. Upton or Carl Crawford stealing bases, whether it was Randy Arozarena or Kevin Kiermaier stealing bases, like those guys, that's what it's all about. If you're not a team that's going to have 7 guys that hit 20 home runs, what can you do to go out there and continuously apply pressure and have the ability to win games in multiple ways? You're going to be able to win low-scoring games. We know that. But what happens when you have to put up 4, 5, 6 runs? It's not always going to be by the home run ball. And we did see a couple of home runs to the Rays. And for all the people that were complaining about the dimensions of Yankee Stadium, I mean, you're going to love that this year, as this is your home ballpark. But just love to see the Rays. Even the uniforms look different outside. It looked great to see those whites shining in the sunlight. A great turnout. Unbelievable from everybody out there. And it was just, listen, it was a good week. It was a good weekend for Team Tampa Bay. It was a good weekend for Florida sports in general. It's an exciting time of year. And again, talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're back in action tomorrow night on Long Island against the Islanders. And that is going to be the start of a 4-game road trip. Then they come home for a couple, and then they finish in New York against the Rangers. They have to continue with their foot on the gas pedal, because it is not going to get any easier. We're going to take a deep dive into what is going on with them a little bit later on. Claire Lessinger is going to join us at 1:30 today from the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. And if you know Claire, she has done such a great job with Rob Higgins and Tony Diaz and everybody involved with the Sports Commission of getting those events here to the Tampa Bay area. You want to know why we have WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles and national championship games and Super Bowls and Frozen Fours and women's Final Fours? It's because of our folks at the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. They do such a great job of highlighting what is going on in the area. And it's just, it never fails. It never fails. And you saw in volleyball last year, people walking out going, I cannot believe that this was the red carpet that was rolled out for us here in the Tampa Bay area. That's the type of impact that we have here in the 813. So we're going to chat with Claire at 1:30 today, and she's going to give us a heads up of everything that's going on when it comes to the women's Final Four. We already have 2 teams in, LSU, South Carolina. Those are the 2 teams. We know the men's side. We know the 4 teams there. Pretty chalky, but listen, when you have a year like you do this year in college basketball, and the 4 teams that got the number 1 seed were clearly the top teams in the game, I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. And when you have a year like this, it makes you appreciate the other years a little bit more. If there's a Cinderella every single year where we see a 7 seed in the Final Four, I think it loses its luster. Is it really a Cinderella still? I don't think so. I think some years you need this. Some years you need that consistency. You need that top tier action coming from the teams that we're going to see: Houston, Auburn, Duke, and Florida. And speaking of the Gators, we're going to bring them in right now. Tampa's own Jesuit Tiger Bennett Andersen joining us on the program. Bennett, So good to see you, man. We've been supporting you all along from the 813. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, and appreciate all your support.
Yeah, of course, man. Bennett, I used to coach your brother Carter many, many years ago, and I remember you and your brother Wilson running around like maniacs, and your mom and dad having to run around and lasso you guys and keep an eye on Carter on the field when he was catching or doing some crazy stuff there. Man, just how cool is it to be able to see that support from people back here in Tampa for everything that you've done over there with Florida?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I've gotten a million texts. Just pretty much everybody I knew back at Jesuit High School is hitting me up either on Instagram or by my text. So it's been really fun and really exciting. And I've seen a ton of support from everybody in Tampa. So
take us through your journey, Bennett. I know a lot of people already know it, but let's say somebody's just tuning in here to the podcast for the first time. Just take us through your route from going to Jesuit and your mindset of going to Florida and what you thought your career was going to be like there and what it ended up happening to be.
yeah, I played basketball at Jesuit, and I was a pretty good high school player, but not really recruited anywhere. There were a couple D3 schools that recruited me that I was looking at maybe going to, but that was it. And so I ended up just coming to Florida as a regular student, just because I love the school, love the academics, love being a Florida fan of all these sports. So that's why I came to Florida, and then decided, well, I still love basketball. Maybe I could get involved in the program somehow. So I was able to work my way in as a student manager and did that for 3 years. So 2 under Coach White. And then Coach Golden came in after my sophomore year. And I really developed a great relationship with him. And after playing pickup with some of the assistant coaches, they were like, Bennett can play a little bit. You should put him on the scout team. So Coach Golden let me play on the scout team that year. And that was like one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. And then a year later, he came to me and was like, hey, we want to put you on the roster. And so that was before last season. And then thanks to COVID, which I was dealing with kind of coming out of high school, I ended up with 1 more year of eligibility. So I decided to stay 1 more year this year. And I'm really glad I made that decision.
I know we are too, man. What was it like to get into some of those games, this year and also in the SEC tournament, man? Because you're thinking SEC tournament is going to be some nip tuck games. The SEC was so fantastic this year with teams littered throughout the top 25, but to be able to see some action because you guys played so well, what did that mean to you?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, we still are, but really going into that tournament super hot and playing really good basketball. I think even though it was the best conference in the country this year, we all went into Nashville feeling like we're going to win this thing. And so that semifinal game, the lead started to build a little bit more and a little bit more. And I was like, all right, I might get some time here. And then getting in and then scoring, it was all kind of a blur, but it was so fun. And a bunch of my friends from UF, like my 5 best friends that I lived with for 3 years who graduated, so they're not here anymore, they were all there in Nashville. So I got to high five them and take photos, and my parents were there. It was awesome.
Yeah, your parents are great, and shout out to them. Love them so much. I actually got a chance to talk to them after watching Wilson pitch against TC a couple of weeks ago. What is that like when you get up off the chair there and you go to check into the game and you hear that roar from not just your teammates but the fans? Because listen, man, you've become like one of the more well-known guys on the team who doesn't see a ton of action, but I mean, you've really become a person that people love to cheer for when it comes to this Florida Gators basketball team.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun role, and it's a pretty special role because, when you get in there, it doesn't really matter what happens. Like, people are just excited you're in there and your team's already won the game. So I think because of that, you can kind of play with a little bit of freedom and just play with confidence because, it doesn't really matter what happens. And so it's pretty fun to get out there in that kind of situation with all that support and not a lot of pressure.
What is it like to see a game? And I'm sitting here in my house watching that game against Texas Tech, and it just looked like the first half, no matter what you guys could do, just couldn't put it together. What was that last 3 minutes like where it seemed like a switch flipped, 3 started going down, Walter Clayton turned into Steph Curry? Like, it was just unbelievable to be able to sit there and watch that last 3 minutes of the game. What was that like?
Yeah, just insane. We couldn't really make anything the whole game. But everybody, we always make a run, like especially in the second half. We're a second half team, and we always have a big run. And so we were all saying like, our run's coming. And then with like 4 minutes left, we're down 9 at the under 4 timeout. And I think everybody's like, well, it has to be now. Like now, we got to do it now. It's now or never. And then Tommy hitting those 2 big shots. I think Walt kind of overshadowed it a little bit afterward, but he's kind of I think they're both the hero. Tommy, if he doesn't make those 2 shots, we don't even have a chance. But if you can get it to within 3 or within 4 with a minute left and you have Walter Clayton, you have a good chance to win the game, which is not what a lot of teams can say. So on that last shot, I actually, like, watching it back, like, I didn't react. Like, I literally just, like, looked around. I think it's just because, like, that's what he does. I think I was expecting it to go in. So
it's amazing. He set the bar so high right at the end of those games. He's got ice in his veins. What's the mindset? What's the mindset from Coach Golden? What is the talk right now as you lead up to the Final Four? It's chalk, man. It's the 4 best teams in the country. I mean, what's the mindset going into this week? Do you treat it like, hey, it's any other game, or do you say, hey, the intensity is going to be ratcheted up before we head to San Antonio?
Yeah, we're about to meet for film. We got back to Gainesville yesterday from San Francisco, and the message was just rest. Just try to rest and recover and kind of reset yourself. So I don't know much from, like, mindset game plan. I will in a couple hours here, but we've been playing the best teams all year. So I think that'll be part of the message. Like, I think the SEC's prepared us for this, and so we won't be surprised by anything we see out there, especially first game, given we've played Auburn before. So.
Yeah, what is that like to know that there's another SEC team? And, you know, that just it was so crazy. As I said before, the SEC was – I watched that game with my dad. They were here when you guys went to Auburn to beat the Tigers, and it was, to me, the most impressive win of the year. But to know that you're going up against another SEC team in this type of year with a great coach and some great players over there, I mean, what do you think about, you know, that matchup before you get into it?
I mean, I think it's exciting. I think it's just kind of proof of, yes, the league really was this good this year. But I think we'll treat it like any other game. I think it's almost easier to treat it like any other game because sometimes it's hard to scout these teams that play in a different league. They play a different style of basketball, whereas Auburn we know well. And so we might be a little more comfortable, honestly, playing them than, even though they're so good, than somebody else who we're not really used to.
Right. Have you been getting a lot of people texting you about the whole thing with the reporter locally? Because that's the first story that comes up. I'm like,
yeah, no worries.
Man, so, I mean, it seemed like a pretty innocent interview to me. I don't know, people making a mountain out of a molehill on that one.
Yeah, if you told me that I was going to score in the Sweet 16 and make the Final Four, but I had to deal with a little bit of embarrassment going with it, I would have 100% just take that deal. So I can handle it. It's a pretty funny interview. And, like, my teammates are sending it to me, my friends, my family, and you just got to laugh at it, you know?
Bennett, before I let you go, because we started this with me mentioning your family, I want you to talk about the support from your mom and dad. Again, I got a chance to talk to mom and dad for a while the other night or a couple of weeks ago. And knowing, like, with your older brother and what Wilson's doing at Jesuit, he's one of the top ranked pitchers in the entire country. Before you go, just let me know how important family is to you on this entire journey and while you're still going through it.
Yeah, family is super important. As you know, since you know them, we have, like, the most supportive parents in the world, and they want us to follow our dreams and do all these different things. So they're pretty awesome. And my siblings, I've got 4 siblings. My sister Abby and her husband and her 2 little kids, one's 3, one's a newborn, flew all the way out to San Francisco to catch those games. And I bet he's going next week too. Included to fly back before the championship because of his baseball season, but he's going to try to go to the semi. So just super excited to have them all there, and they're all the best. I love my family dearly.
You got that right. Well, Bennett, we love you. We support you, man. I'm so grateful for your time today. I know you got a really, really busy schedule. Go take it home, brother, and I hope you guys blow out the team in the championship game so you can end the game with the ball in your hands. That is my hope for you. Bennett, so glad to see how well you've grown and developed, and just you're such a great young man and such a great representative of Jesuit in the Tampa Bay area. Best of luck, my friend. Go Gators.
Yep. Thanks, Jay.
You got it, pal. Bennett Andersen, man. Awesome stuff right there. So busy, and the ability to have him on the program. Like, God, that was so great. That's the kind of stuff that you're going to get here on the Jay Recher podcast, right? For all the stuff people saying, blah, blah, blah. We just had Bennett Andersen on, one of the players from the Final Four here on the program with us. And what a great story. Go, and it's going to be tough because when you look up Bennett Andersen, the first story that's going to come up is going to be that story with that girl. But listen, man, it's an incredible story what he was able to do going there as a manager, not thinking he was going to play much and then just bowling. You never know who's watching. You never know. And for him to be able to make such a profound impact, it's been a great story. It's been a great story to watch all year long. And we'll be tuned in down the stretch. It's been tough because you look at some of these teams. I mean, the matchups are going to be nuts. And I said it with him, and I'll say it again here. Like, I don't think this is a bad thing. I don't think that just because it's chalk that, oh, wow, it takes away from the specialty of college hoops. No way, not at all. Some years you want to see that. Was anybody complaining last year in the World Series when it was the Yankees and the Dodgers and it was pretty chalk there? That was exciting as hell. It only went 5 games. If you've watched college hoops this year, you know that these were the 4 best teams. Go look at your brackets. Go look at your friends' brackets. Guaranteed that 95% of them had Duke or Florida or Houston or Auburn. I tried to go against the curve. I thought that was the way for me to be able to win by picking Alabama to kind of go against that. And poor Mark Sears. He had such a poor outing against Duke. Chris Youngblood, shout out to him. We know what impact that he made here in the Tampa Bay area with the Bulls last year. He did all he could to help Alabama, but not enough. I look at Duke and I look at Florida. I look at Auburn and I look at Houston, and I could give 2 craps about, oh, well, this is supposed to be Cinderella. This is supposed to be this. This is supposed to be that. I don't care. These are the 4 best teams. Isn't this what we want? We want the 4 best teams slugging it out to see who is the last team standing, who will be the national champions. And I know a lot of people in the Tampa Bay area, myself included, would love to see the Florida Gators take it home. I didn't go to Florida. I grew up a Duke fan. So if it's Duke and Florida, wow. I mean, you want to talk about missing the boat. I mean, imagine if Duke and Florida was going at it when me and Zach were still working together. That would have been crazy. Because I know my man Blobner's happy too. But what a game. I didn't think that. And watching all these other games, you look at what Houston was able to do to Tennessee, right? I mean, Duke they were just a little bit better than Alabama the entire game. And Cooper Flagg didn't even really have the greatest offensive game. Michigan State and Auburn, like the closest game was that Florida Texas Tech game. And Florida really didn't have much falling for them. And then Tommy made the shots, and then Walter Clayton Jr. There is just something special about that kid. There is something when you watch him play, the ability to go get the ball, dribble, turn your back. That's like, how many times do we see that in basketball history? I mean, Steph Curry obviously is the guy who's made that famous, but how many times do we see a guy get the rebound, turn his back to the basket, dribble out to the 3-point line, turn right away and fire it, and not just make the shot, but also you knew he was going to make the shot. You heard Bennett say it right there. Like, I didn't even react because I expected it to go in. He is a special, special player. And I just wonder, when you look at these last 4 teams, we know that there's good players. Houston has a really good backcourt. Duke and Florida. I mean, Duke has such a versatile backcourt. I picked Alabama, but I didn't give enough credence and enough credit to a guy like Tyrese Proctor, who's been a 3-year starter there. But he's a big guy. Broom's a big guy for Auburn. I just don't know if anybody's ceiling when it comes to the backcourt, because I think when you look overall, you're probably going to give it to Cooper Flagg. But when you look at the backcourt players, does anybody have a ceiling as high as Walter Clayton Jr. on what he can do at this time of year? I don't know, man. I really don't know. But it is going to be one of the best Final Fours, I think, in modern history with these 4 teams going out. I'd be very surprised if any of these games were a blowout. I think this is going to be nip-tucked the entire way. Look at the coaches that we have involved. You have Kelvin Sampson, You have Bruce Pearl, you have Golden, you have Shire. So it really is a little bit of a difference with these 4 teams. You look at, we're in a world now with college hoops and with college athletics, with the transfer portal and the NIL. People were wondering, can these coaches that are over the age of 50, can they really resonate with these young athletes? Can they really survive in this ever-changing landscape? Well, look at the 2 coaches for Houston and for Auburn, and you tell me if those guys can do the job or not. Then you look at Coach Golden, what he's been able to do. I don't know if many people out there when he was hired by the Gators were that thrilled and knew a lot about him. I mean, well, we had Chris Harry on. Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com, and he said, Jay, I wrote a story on Coach Golden, not just for the fans, the readers, the listeners, and all that jazz, but for me and for myself too. And look at what he's been able to do when he's gotten his guys in there. And then look at John Shire, a guy that was a champion as a player, champion as an assistant coach, and now has his team in the Final Four. And you're looking at a guy who I think with this next win is going to set the record for most wins in the first 3 years as a head coach in college basketball. We speak about this a lot in sports. It is not easy to follow a legend. And John Shire, the long-term coach in waiting, the heir apparent to Mike Krzyzewski there in Durham for the Duke Blue Devils. I mean, could it have gone any better for him? And it's not going to get easier for anybody else next year too, because he's got Carlos Boozer's twin sons coming to the program next year. We know Cooper Flagg's not going to stick around. A lot of those other guys, Con Kneppel, Malawat, they're not going to be here. They'll be first-round draft picks, and that's just the way it goes in college basketball. You're going to see a lot of these high-profile teams one and done with these guys, but you have to be smart. You got to be creative in the transfer portal. You got to be creative with these guys, with these NIL money, how you develop certain players. Trying to mix guys like Cooper Flagg and Tyrese Proctor, guys that have been here for 3 years or be here for 2 years, now a third year, guy that's only going to be here for 1 year. I love it. I think this weekend in college basketball and beyond, it's just been a lot of fun, and I can't wait for this weekend. Again, we'll talk to Claire Lessinger about the ladies' side, as 2 of the 4 teams already locked in, LSU and South Carolina, but we have 2 more games tonight to decide who will be coming to Tampa for the Final Four. And at 7 o'clock tonight, TCU, the number 2 seed, takes on Texas, the number 1 seed. Battle the Lone Star State, 234 and 3 teams. And then UConn and USC. UConn's the 2 seed. They're also 34 and 3. USC 31 and 3, but we know they're without Juju. Ken Page and the Huskies take the victory there. I don't know, 7 and 9 o'clock tonight on ESPN. That should be a fantastic watch. This is a primo time in sports right now, buddy. Basketball, we got baseball, we got hockey, we got meetings today, talking about all this stuff in football. The Jets are going with Justin Fields, no doubt. He's going to be their starter. Aaron Glenn is saying as such. I look at that situation with Aaron Glenn and the Jets. I wonder if he's not looking at Justin Fields the same way as the Buccaneers looked at Baker Mayfield. Give the guy some confidence. Give the guy the ability to not have to be looking over his shoulder. We're here for you. This is your team. Go. I want to take a deeper dive into that. I was thinking about that parallel, that analogy a little bit earlier. We're going to do the same thing probably a little bit later on this week, or maybe even later on in the offseason. But I look at Baker, I look at Justin Fields, and some of these guys, some of these first-round picks, not having to live up to the hype of that team that drafted them and going to a couple of different places and finally settling, having a coach and a team. The team necessarily knows what it looks like, but at least Aaron Glenn coming from a place like Detroit knows what it looks like. So we shall see. Our guy Ian Beckles is going to join us here in a second. You there, Beck?
Yes, sir.
Hey, buddy. Is the video working or no?
I don't know. How do you get this thing on?
It sounds like a personal question, buddy. There you go.
How you doing?
What's up, young blood?
I'm chilling, bro. You good?
I'm good, good. How was opening day on Friday? I know you went to go see the guys and you spoke so glowingly about me.
Yeah, you know you're my people, dog. But I gotta bring you down to earth sometime. I gotta bring you down to earth
Bring it down to
sometimes.
earth.
You know
But
what I'm
how was
saying?
it being over there with the guys, man? Opening day, was it exciting over there? People were jacked up?
Yeah, man. I listen. You know, opening day is a little different. You know, a lot of people wait for opening day. Other people act like they care on the one day and then they don't care the rest of the year.
Right.
But in general, you know, everybody's excited about baseball. I don't think that's a bad thing. I raised it to start off bad. But I hung out at Riveters with Pat. Aaron was out. And you know, listen, I'm still good with most people there at 6:20. Although
For sure.
I'm not sure everybody's good with me, but you know how that goes.
Oh, they are. Come on, buddy.
No,
They
they're
are.
not.
Eh,
They're not.
yeah, they are.
Not
Oh, they're
all of
not.
them.
Okay.
Not all of them.
Uh, no, and that's just the way it goes, man. If you're not making enemies, it's just the way it goes
Yeah,
sometimes.
when you have a cute face like this, people hate you just because you're cute.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing. Aaron, your guy Aaron Glenn is
Yeah.
putting the full support behind Justin Fields with the Jets. That surprised you at all? Because I mean, this is a guy that couldn't even beat out Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh last year. I just mentioned I feel like it's similar to like a Baker Mayfield situation where, hey, you were a first round pick, you've been to a couple different places. Come here for a year, man. We'll support you. You won't have to look over your shoulder. We're going to give you the reins. Let's see if you can do your thing. I feel like Aaron Glenn is kind of taking the steps that Todd Bowles and Jason Light took with Baker and the Bucks. What do you think?
I think it's similar.
Mhm.
It started off similar. It doesn't mean it's going to end up similar.
Right, right.
You know how many times somebody takes a chance. Like, listen, the Bucks took a chance on Baker Mayfield. Okay, he's overachieved to the ace power. He was not this before. We watched him.
No, no.
Okay, he's turned into a really good quarterback in the NFL. We could not have said that in Cleveland. He had spurts, but as a whole, he wasn't a great quarterback. Listen, he was out on the streets. Justin Fields has had times where he looked like an NFL quarterback, but Aaron Glenn understands. Well, first of all, who's he going up against? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
he's not going up in the future by any means.
Right,
Aaron Glenn understands that you're better off giving somebody a job. Give
right.
him the job in the offseason so that he's in the huddle and it's his team and his offense and his way and let's rock, and that it just works out better that way. If it's wishy-washy, you're going one quarterback, the other quarterback, it doesn't usually turn out well. So I like the way Aaron Glenn, the direction he went in.
What do you make of these teams now, Beck? I know we've talked about this for a while, but and I'm a little surprised that there's more and more people trying to ban the brotherly shove and the tush push. I think you and I thought it was just going to be one or two teams, but it seems like it's growing. Why do you think that is? Why do you think these teams, instead of being like, hey, it's just kind of the nature of the beast, like, why are they to a point right now where they're trying to ban this guy? I think it's just weak.
Well, I think you're right. First of all, it is weak, but I bet when the forward pass came out, people were probably trying to ban it
Right.
because now you have to figure out how to stop it. Now, it's not. I don't want to hear about it's because of injury because that's bullshit. The
Mhm.
NFL doesn't care about injuries. They don't. Okay. All it is teams thinking, damn, we're playing Philadelphia this year, and if it's 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1, it's first down. And
Right.
we don't want to spend half of our practice figuring out how to stop that. And to me, that's just hate. And like I said many times, if you can't stop it, figure out how they do it and do it. And I really haven't seen any other team in the NFL, none, do it like that. So I love it. I love it. Stop it. Stop complaining.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you wholeheartedly. Did you notice? And it looks like they're possibly going to move the touchback line up to 35. Did you notice a big difference with the kickoffs? How they changed last year? I thought there was a couple more returns, but I don't know. I didn't think it was earth shattering. Do you?
I mean, I don't know if I've ever spent that much time paying attention to kickoffs.
Right.
I mean, how many times has kickoffs really affected a game? Like I think when I played, I see maybe 2 taken back,
Mhm.
So that was one where they said, well, we're trying to reduce, the injuries. Uh, I think that's not a bad move, but I just don't spend a lot of time thinking about kickoff. If you say, do you want to go back to the original? I would say no. Okay, because I think that is uh, uh, a direct You're going straight to the freaking training room to let a guy run 60 yards down the field at somebody else who's standing there. It's just not a great equation. So I'm okay with the change, but I don't lose any sleep, trying to say if it's good, bad, indifferent, because it doesn't change that many games.
Yeah, no doubt. One thing that they're talking about changing is the overtime rules, with now going to a 15-minute overtime instead of a 10-minute overtime, and both teams getting an opportunity to get the ball, because we saw last year, and one that directly affects the Buccaneers, where they went to Kansas City after losing Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and then they take the Kansas City Chiefs to overtime, and then when they win the toss, Baker Mayfield you see the look on his face like, we're not getting the ball back here. Here goes Patrick Mahomes. What are your thoughts on the overtime rule? Is it something that you would like to see, kind of like in college, where both teams have an opportunity to score?
Well, I mean, it's probably very close to the last answer for me.
Right.
It doesn't affect the football that much, and we can sit here and bitch and moan. But my issue with it is this. Who made this decision? And whoever made the decision, have you ever played in an NFL football game? Okay? Because as somebody who's played in numerous NFL football games, I don't want to play more football. I want to play less football. And
that ain't happening, though. That ain't happening.
Oh, I know it's not. Oh, let's add another game.
Yeah.
Let's go 18 games.
It's happening.
Have you ever played 16 games? And the difference between 16 and 17 is huge, and 17 and 18 is even bigger. So the people that are making these decisions are making it solely for money. Okay, I get it. It's a product thing. It's a product thing as well. But they don't give a shit about the football players. They want the product to be good at the end. They don't want nobody to bitch and moan because they're making a lot of money. That's all.
That's why it's so funny. Like when there's the list of the things that they talk about, right? And they're like, all right, well, we want to ban the tush push because maybe not injuries this year, but the injuries could happen next year. Okay. But we want to, we want to have longer games in another game.
How many injuries have come from the tush push? I've not seen any.
They said none. And Sean McDermott,
so what are we talking about?
Sean McDermott from the Bills is like, oh yeah, well, it could happen. I was like, so you guys care about health when it comes to the tush push on a play that we have evidence that there is no injuries, but you want to play more and longer. Like, what? That just doesn't make any sense. No. Yeah, let's talk about the tush push, but let's make games 15-minute overtime. Let's go to an 18-game season. It's I think it's kind of wild to me that the NFL does things like this and they're still as popular as it is. Like, they make some incredibly just mind-numbing, tone-deaf decisions, and it's still the most popular sport in the country.
But it's not close though, Jay. And
it isn't. It's not close.
The NFL is in a situation that they can do anything. Let me ask you, what would the NFL have to do? And I know the answer. What would the NFL have to do for you not to watch it on Sunday? Go.
I don't know if there is anything.
There isn't anything. On Sunday, I watch football. On Monday, I watch football. On Thursday, I watch football. There's nothing they can do. So you can, if you're McDonald's, you can put out shit. I'm not saying McDonald's puts out shit, but if they put out shit, they're still going to make a lot of money.
Right.
So they're good. They're not worried about nobody, but their bank book.
Yeah, it's pretty funny how you look at baseball and all these different games, and football's just once a week, right? Your team plays once a week, so it's easy for you to be able to set aside that couple hours. And the only way, maybe oversaturation where they have teams. Can you imagine if they had teams play like 2 games a week? Like, oh my God. Because I don't think it stops at 18.
But Jay, they do. I hate to correct you, Jay, but they do.
You're right.
If you play Sunday and Thursday, you're playing 2 games in 1 week. And once again, that was a rule made by somebody who's never played in the NFL, because that should not ever happen. It should never happen.
How long does it take for you to be able to get to a point where that you feel like, first, let's go week 1.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you didn't pick up like an injury, but you just had the natural wear and tear.
Mm-hmm.
At what point after week 1 did you feel as close to 100% before you got to week 2?
Let's not do 100%. Let's not do
it. Was net, but that's my point. You never were at 100% once the season starts, right?
No, once your career starts, 100% is done. Now let me explain it to you. At the beginning of the season, you're probably not in football shape till about the 5th week. Okay, so the first 5 weeks, the wear and tear is worse because you're not seasoned, right? Then when you get to the back end of the season and your body is seasoned and you're okay with the licks, then the bumps and bruises start coming about.
Right.
So there's no time where you feel comfortable in an NFL season with your body. Oh, by the way, you went to 4 weeks of training camp, which is not what the hell they do here. First of all, it was 6 weeks. It's not what they're doing here.
Right.
So in general, like if you have to play Sunday, then you have to play Thursday. I never did it. I'm just telling you, when I play Sunday, Monday, I'm done. Tuesday, I could barely walk. Wednesday, I figure out a way to make practice. Maybe. If I had to play Thursday, I don't even know what I would literally go in a plastic bubble like your boy John Travolta back in the day and make sure nobody touches me, because I couldn't imagine playing 2 games in 4 days, which it's stupid.
Yeah, I just at what point does it stop?
It's not gonna
stop.
Nope. What else are you going to watch on Thursday night? There's nothing else to watch. I mean, the ratings are great. It's not going to stop.
Do you think they eventually get to 20 games?
I don't think it's impossible. I mean, what did they start with? 12?
20 games, 20 games with 2 buys?
Jesus criminy. Now, this is the thing, Jay. People like to just add a bye and think that is helping the athlete. It's just adding a week of football. I think most football players, you say, do you want to buy or not? And they say, no. Let me just go 17 weeks. That buy is just an extra week of hitting in practice, which sucks. So if you add 20 games and 2 buys, that's 22 weeks. That's 6 weeks more than my rookie year. So somebody is going to have a rookie year of 22 weeks minimum. Nah, that's not. I mean, dude, we're breaking down anyways. It won't be good for those people afterwards. It's not good anyways.
How was the weekend, man, with Space Camp and everything over there at the Dignitary Cafe?
It was great, man. I mean, Space Camp is one of my favorite bands in this area, kind of a reggae, good feel to them. They might as well be our house band. I think they played here 3 times. And we had some dignitaries in the house. Dizzy was here, and my boy Bodie and Sarah from Cabo Social were here. So it was fun. It was a good time. Everybody had a nice vibe, very 420 friendly. We were 420 friendly all the way through the cafe on Saturday, so it was a good vibe.
How is the vibe usually there at the Dignitary shop? It seems like everything there at the Dignitary Cafe is very welcoming there.
Yeah, I mean, that's our thing. We love everybody. What's great about this place is we've had a lot of people that have been narrow-minded come through here throughout the years.
Okay.
And now, you know, you see them befriending gay people and talking to transgender people. And that's what I've always been about. Right. It's about love. And if you're a good people and you're good to me, I'm good. So I think we're changing people. And if you go to a normal bar, and I used to go to normal bars a lot, it's a different experience. You got people drunk, it's loud, people are grabbing on you and acting a fool. And that doesn't happen at Dignitary Cafe. Everybody's sober. We have great conversations. People are having a good time and are very respectful. If you raise your voice, you get the fuck out. Because we don't really do that. We're not combative. Me and Tom Ponzo are both 57 years old. We want to chill, bro. So it's a calm place.
He's the Heinz 57 guy, him and Tom Ponzo. And if you check him out Wednesday at 3:00, you can actually watch the Beckles and Recher podcast live there on the TV screen there at the Dignitary Cafe. Can't beat it.
Yeah, you miss me blowing the smoke on you?
Yeah, no, I do not, buddy. All right, I got Matt Joyce coming up next, my friend. We'll talk to you again next Monday, and I'll talk to you there on Wednesday, my friend.
Tell Matt I said hi, and I appreciate him doing that photo shoot back in the day with my magazine. He's good people. I like Matt Joyce.
He is. The Tampa's own Matt Joyce. Our guy, Ian Beckles, Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. Go check him out today. Appreciate you, Beck.
Deuces, kid.
All right, my man. The one and only Ian Beckles there. Yeah, 20-game season. I feel like we're on the road to doing that. The pathway is clear. Ian and I have spoken about this for many, many years. It's so funny when the NFL gets to a point where they start making these decisions and they say they care about the health of the athletes. The NFL stands for not for long, right? That's not just because players they're not good. It's like, oh yeah, you're good, and then you're not good, and people take your spot. No, it's because it's so darn difficult to be able to stay healthy, and it's not like they make it conducive to you to stay healthy throughout the entire season. So they're going to go to 18 games, no doubt. You'll probably have 2 preseason games, and then I truly believe down the road, we'll see some point where it's going to be 20 NFL games and no preseason. Just the way it goes. All right, let's bring him in. He's an all-star. He's the one and only Matt Joyce joining us on the program. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Just enjoying the beautiful day here in Tampa, Florida, before it gets too hot.
I just had our buddy Ian Beckles on. He said, thanks for doing that photo shoot back in the day. What, do you remember that?
What photo shoot?
It's like, that's such a long time ago. I'm sure way back in the day. Matt, appreciate you, man. I hope you're doing well, you and yours. What was it like, man? Opening day, there's really nothing like it, man. Opening day. What was it like to be able to see that here in the Tampa area with the Rays playing outside?
Different. Yeah, it was definitely different. Opening day is special for me, man. Honestly, it's like a holiday. Tell everybody it's like Christmas for baseball fans and baseball players. Like, you just get so excited that obviously you work so hard in the off season, spring training, excited, but like there's a different feeling about opening day. My favorite ones are probably early on in my career when I got one of my first opening days at Boston when I played for the Rays. I got to do opening day at Fenway. That was cool. It was really, really cool, special, different kind of energy up there. This weekend was cool. I mean, it was different for the Rays, right? Obviously, they're used to being inside. Got to check out the clubhouse. The Yankees spent like $40 million to renovate the clubhouse in that stadium, so the Rays get to benefit from that. I was checking out the facilities. They're incredible. So that worked out really well for them. And then speaking to the guys, like, they're excited to play outside. They're excited to have nice weather right now. Obviously, we'll see how June, July goes. They play on real grass. There's a big difference for the outfielders playing on real grass and just the wear and tear on their bodies.
Yeah, tell me about that, because I know that's something over the years. I talked to Kevin Kiermaier about it and Carl Crawford. Like, when do you feel that difference? Is that a point in your career you feel the difference, a point throughout that 1 year for a guy that played outfield? I mean, what is that big difference to somebody that doesn't really know the difference between playing on turf and playing on grass?
I remember specifically when I was 30 years old, telling our bench coach, I was like, oof, buddy, 30 feels different, especially playing on turf. But yeah, no, typically, like, especially as you get a little bit older, you definitely feel it a little bit more. But if you play, 4 games in a row on that turf, like, you feel it, like your lower back, your knees. I mean, you got to think about it. It's basically carpet on top of concrete. And then they have like the rubber pellets. And I think they redid it fairly recently, within the last few years, of just like sand and just kind of a combination of stuff. But still, it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild to be able to see them and be able to do that. What about hitting wise? Like, there's certain balls stay in the infield, because I know that you're not playing in these with the grass super high, but do you notice the difference when you're hitting hard ground balls, that balls get through the infield quicker on turf?
Yeah, I mean, typically my head is down, trying to dig it out. Please God, make it safe. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a difference. Like, if you ask the infielders that play the infield, there's definitely a difference of playing at the trop. The ground is a little bit faster. And yeah, I mean, obviously, depending on how hot it is, how much rain there's been, how wet the field is, right? Like, if it's, a really dry field and hot, like, it's going to be a little bit harder. It's going to play a little bit faster. And so, it just depends.
What do you make of Junior Caminero? I mean, what this guy's been able to do, obviously in winter ball, because the stories in winter ball are just amazing. But to be able to see the success there, to be able to just hear the sound off of the bat in batting practice, like, what do you think as far as his potential, not just for this year, but beyond? Because just watch that guy. Like, they don't make too many like that.
No. This guy is a budding superstar. He's going to be a superstar. As long as he stays healthy, he's 21 years old. His bat speed is off the charts. Right, like, he hits the ball and it is as loud as almost anybody I've seen and played with. Bryce Harper comes to mind, of just like the ability to impact a baseball like that is crazy. Still a young kid. He's still learning. He's going to make a ton of adjustments. He's going to learn a lot over the next few years. But, like, think about it, like, 21 years old, hitting in the middle of a big league order. But has all the potential in the world to hit 30 home runs this year, right? Like, I mean, he has that capability to hit 30 home runs this year. And if he stays healthy, realistically, I mean, he's got a good shot at it. And then he'll only get better. 25 to 30. I mean, it's going to be scary what this kid's capable of.
Yeah, no doubt. And people are like, oh, I don't want to, I don't think we should put too much pressure on him. I'm like, dude, he's going to start every day at third base and bat in the middle of the lineup. I don't know if there's pressure, like, right? Like, I think that's so overblown. Like, dude, if you're 21 and you're going to bat third or fourth in a big league lineup in the AL East and knowing who you're going against, like, I don't know if the Rays are necessarily worried about pressure. What do you think?
No, I mean, I think once you get past the first, couple games, right, you start to settle in. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be excited, especially bigger games, bigger situations. Your heart rate's going to get elevated. But again, dude, I was 23 and I got caught up with the Tigers, and we had superstars. It was crazy the talent that we had on that team. Pudge was behind the plate. Gary Sheffield, Magli Ordonez. Like, it was crazy who we had on that team. Just a handful of superstars. Verlander was there. Kenny Rogers. Just all kinds of stuff. And so, for me, at the end of the day, I still had to go play, right? I had to block all that out. It doesn't matter who's watching. It doesn't matter who I'm playing with, who's next to me. Andersen was in center field. I'm like, I still got a job to do, and I got to go figure out how to execute and perform and help this team win. And ultimately, that's the mentality. And I think, again, as a young kid, he's got all the talent in the world. Once he kind of settles in and relaxes and gets a little comfortable, he's going to take off.
Matt, a lot of people ask about the job of a hitting coach, especially with the Rays and the fact that they were the worst offense last year in Rays history, which was kind of weird to me, knowing how some of the teams early on in the franchise's history didn't really smack the ball around too well. But as a guy that played in the big leagues, what's the job of the hitting coach for a guy like you, let's say young Matt Joyce and maybe 30-year-old Matt Joyce? Because I feel like sometimes there's too much of an onus maybe from the outside, from the fan base, from the media of oh, it's the hitting coach's problem. I mean, sometimes guys just not as talented as maybe some of the opponents that they're going against. What is the hitting coach's job for young hitters and also for the veteran guys?
Man, it's all over the place, right? You really think about it as the hitting coach, they have to help the guys prepare, right? You have to give them the information that they need, help them to build out an approach. Obviously, you're a swing coach. Sometimes you're a therapist, right? You're trying to, really make sure that these guys understand that they belong there. So you're building up their confidence. So it's all over the place, right? And so, and to your point, I always felt there was just freaks of nature in the big leagues. And when you look at guys like Judge and Ohtani, and no matter how hard I worked, my ceiling was only this high. Their ceiling was so much higher because they could hit the ball harder. They were bigger, faster, stronger, right? And so you kind of have to take that into consideration, and for each individual player to understand, all right, what is this player's strengths and weaknesses, and what works for them, because I can't sit here and as soon as they come into the team say, no, you need to swing this way. Hey, something got you here that made you successful. What was it? What works for you? And then from there, once you learn the player and you can kind of see all right, how do they go about their bats? Are they chasing? Are they controlling the strike zone? How's their effort level? Did they have a good approach? And then from there, it's all right, let's look at their mechanics. If they're struggling, what is their mechanics? Are they flying open with their front side? All right, let's do some drills and then do that consistently to make sure that they're, beating in the right muscle memory. Is there any mechanical adjustments that we do need to make? Are they coming out of their legs? Little stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then again, the game's built around failure, right? You're going to fail all the time. And so it's making sure that they have the right mindset of how to deal with that failure. And they're talking to themselves and having that good positive self-talk. And then obviously you're there to pump them up and to make sure that they're still staying confident.
And what about now? We're seeing these torpedo bats. That's all the rage. The first, it's funny. Aaron Judge is the one guy not using the freaking torpedo bat, but it is kind of wonky because I've worked for a bat company before, and you're just used to the same looking thing. What the C241 or whatever it was, used to the same bat all the time. And now it looks different, and people are losing their mind about it, even though everybody can do it. What's your take on the torpedo bat, and would that be something that if you were still playing that you'd be, giving a look to?
Oh man, I'd be trying anything and everything I could. I needed all the help I could get. Yeah, for me, I always felt exit velocity, the ability to impact the baseball, was the golden nugget. It was you know what I mean? And I was under control. I had the paint discipline, and I could square up a baseball. But the ability to hit the ball hard is you look at the best players. The best players hit the ball the hardest. And the torpedo bat is an interesting case. It reminds me of Albert Pujols. Albert had a bat that the barrel started closer to the hands and then went all the way through the end of the bat. And so like he felt like it was a bigger sweet spot. I ended up trying, to swing that bat, and I didn't like it at all because it moved the center point of the bat towards my hands. And then I just felt like I didn't like it. I didn't feel like I got that same whip for me. And so every hitter's a little bit different. I would be interested to see like the data and have some conversations around the bat itself, because obviously I think the consensus there is that the sweet spot, or the ball where you're gonna hit the ball consistently, the sweet spot of the bat is a little bit thicker than the rest of the bat, right? And so if you think about it logically, then it's saying, all right, like the sweet spot's a little bit bigger, and like that's ultimately where you want the most room for error, right? I want to be able to hit. I want to have as big a sweet spot as possible, and obviously have as much bat speed as possible. So I think that's the overall idea. Again, like it still qualifies and it's under regulation, right? Like the barrel has to be a certain size, and so like there's really nothing wrong with it. It's just the Yankees have hit a lot of home runs, and obviously they're getting a lot of attention for the bat.
That's right. And yeah, I mean, do you think about all the advances that we've made with pitches and different, remember the gyro ball, and now that everybody's throwing a sweeper and a slurve and all these things. And listen, the bat, the only changes in bats have been, you went from ash, everybody used ash. And then, all right, now maple. Birch, you could use birch. It's really heavy. And now here's maple. That's kind of in between the best of both worlds. So it's like, I think it's a good thing if the hitters have more in their repertoire. Matt, what do you make of this whole thing with the stadium, man? Because I know you're a guy that you've been here, you've seen it all. You used to go to games, watch them. You played for the Rays, and it feels like this saga never ends, man. Right? This whole Rays Stadium thing, but we got to keep. I say this all the time, and you're a great example. This baseball is in the DNA of the Tampa Bay area. There's so many current, former, prospective big leaguers. I mean, you've been out there, man. You've seen on baseball fields all around the state, youth baseball. There's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of kids playing everywhere here in the Sunshine State. What do you make of this whole Rays Stadium saga? Do you think we'll ever really get a conclusion where we'll have a stadium, whether it's in Tampa or St. Pete?
I mean, it is that. It is a saga. It's like you said, it's an ongoing saga, dude. Like I hear something almost every day. So the most recent thing I've heard is that St. Pete is going to fix the stadium. They're going to fix the roof, and obviously, it's kind of their obligation to provide a stadium, a workable, nice stadium for the team, and that was the agreement. And obviously, the Rays didn't agree to move forward with the development plans, and so now what we're seeing is MLB is kind of, nudging Sternberg and the Rays to kind of push for a sale, because obviously, ultimately, they want the development. They want to increase the value of the franchise, and then they want to expand. They want to expand in probably most likely Portland, and then somewhere on the East Coast, maybe Nashville, maybe Montreal. Who knows? We'll see. But they want to expand two teams, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. And if the value of the franchise is higher, then they can obviously ask for a higher buy-in price for the new franchise expansion teams. For me personally, I love outdoor baseball. Obviously, when the weather's nice, I just don't think you can beat it. I think Tampa is a very challenging market, Florida as well. If you look at the Miami Marlins, I think you do have to have some kind of roof. Preferably, it would be something that is retractable, but I think everything comes down to the experience, right? So if I was to do it in a way in which I was going to try to drive and attract as many people as possible, I would say, hey, I'm going to build a 2-level, so Steinbrenner's one level. I'm going to build a 2-level stadium. I'm going to have 30,000 fans, and I'm going to replicate a lot of what the Lightning did, right? Very interactive, a lot of energy, music outside, just like it has to be engaging. I have to have a section for the kids to go play, for families. Like there has to be a family environment, and you have to build it around that, right? And I think if you do that, preferably, I know this is a little selfish, but I think it would draw better in Tampa, whether it's in Ybor or in the Florida State Fairgrounds, and then you develop the area around it. I think that's probably going to draw the best when you think about from a fans and coming to the game atmosphere and perspective.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You and I have been to Amalie many times, and to be able to see what's going on there, you walk out of that place going, that wasn't just a hockey game, it was an event, right? It's an experience. Exactly, man. Exactly. I know people that aren't even sports fans. Forget hockey fans. They're not even sports fans. They walk out of there, they go, when's the next game? Get me there again. Right. Matt, before I let you go, man, let everybody know what you got going on, man, and how they can follow you and all that jazz.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, I post here and there. Social media has got pros and cons. At Joyce are 24/7. But yeah, I have my hand in a couple things. I do a little bit of broadcast pre and post, so keep an eye out for me there. I do about 30-something games, just stay around the game, talk some shop. We have 5 F45 studios around the Tampa Bay area, all within 30 minutes of downtown. St. Pete over on 4th Street is awesome studio. Check out if you're over on that side of the bridge. And then I actually ended up joining this group, Full-Time PAC, Pro Athlete Community. Nice. We help pro athletes transition out of the game into different areas like business, real estate, entrepreneurship, finance, and I've always loved those conversations. So it's been a good fit, incredible group. We're about to have our first ever MLB event in December. So I just got the green light for that. So I'm excited. I'm going to have it here in Tampa and pull in a lot of the resources that I have, CEOs, founders, developers, everybody that I can to come and help add value to each other, really.
What's the biggest challenge from these ex-big leaguers, ex-pro athletes as they transition into, something that they've done their entire life, right? It's people forget about that. It's like, you're not just, all right, I was a baseball player from 18 to 30. Like you were playing little league, you were playing travel ball, you're playing high school ball. All of a sudden, it's like everything changes. What is that conversation? What is that transition like for the guys? And is it harder for certain people than others?
I mean, I tell everybody, my first memories are me playing baseball in the front yard in diapers with my dad pitching to me, right? Like I was a baseball player since I had diapers on, right? Like that was it. That was my entire life up until 37, right? And so, 34, 35 years of hey, you're playing this one sport. This is what you do. This is something that you've worked your whole entire life off to become exceptional and one of the best in the world at. And you're told you're special and unique and you're so valuable in the world, kind of caters, I wouldn't say caters to you, but cheers and idolizes you. And then you get rewarded for it. And you get paid well for it. And then at a certain point, it gets cut off and you lose your sense of identity, who you are, what do you do? Your income goes to zero. And so hey, how do I manage my finances? What do I do to make a living? What do I want to do? What am I interested in? Obviously you have to be set up financially in order to go through that transition and make sure you're not burning too much cash. Nobody's really going to give you a really high paying job because you have one expert skill. And so I tell everybody, I went from playing in front of 40,000 people, making really good money, people cheering and idolizing me, to fixing a toilet in a St. Pete gym and really questioning, what am I doing with my life? Right. And so I think I did a good job of the transition. I think it was incredibly challenging. I think you have to really work and go knock on doors and talk to a lot of people and just explore different opportunities and options. And I think this group is really what that's about. Heavy education, heavy networking. And then from there, you figure it out as you go, just like life, right? One step at a time, one day at a time, one conversation at a time. And you kind of start to weigh your options against each other. And then you try to make your best decisions possible, looking forward.
Well, Matt, I know that's going to be a big time success. You're a fantastic player and even better human being. And you made everybody in the Tampa Bay area proud for your playing days and especially what you're doing right now, man. Tell Eddie and Jerry when you see him that I said hello, my friend, and best of luck. And if you need help promoting that event in December, I'm sure we'll talk before then, but anything that I can do to help, use this platform to be able to project that to the high heavens, I'll be here for you, brother. I appreciate your time.
Ditto. Appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Have a good one.
We'll talk to you soon, buddy. The one and only Matt Joyce. God, he's the best. He's the man. Really, really good dude, brother. Really, really good dude. So go check him out. And it's tough, man. It is tough for these pro athletes. And Ian has said that for many years as well. And Matt, you hear it from there as well. It's not easy, man. It is not easy for these guys that go out there and it's all right? I think maybe football you start a little bit later, right? But baseball's just seems like one of those things. It's like one of the first sports that you do when you're a kid, that or soccer, right? It's like the easiest ones to do. It's you remember to have the catch in the backyard, you're swinging a bat, and then when it ends, it just ends. That's it. No mas. So the ability to be able to bounce back from that and to be able to make an adjustment and be able to kind of focus on the next step of your, forget about your career, but for your life, like that's pretty nuts when you think about it. So yeah, good stuff there with Matt. We will continue to have him on throughout the year and talk all things ball. Really, really, really good stuff. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. And yeah, Matt is always, like Hammer says, Matt is always so cool, calm, and collected. I am with you right there. Some breaking news here on the Jay Recher podcast. Yeah, you know what? Let's bring it up for you right here. Boom, 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 boom. Check this bad boy out. How about that? Your 3 stars of the week in the National Hockey League: Nikita Kucherov, Rupe Hintz, and Connor Hellebuyck. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you know, Vazzy should win the Vezina. Not happening this year, not with Connor Hellebuyck. He's been fantastic this entire season. But there you see Nikita Kucherov right there, smack dab in the front. 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points in 3 games. Amazing. So I hate to say this. I really hate to say this, but I just don't know if we're ever going to see Nikita Kucherov voted for MVP ever again in the NHL. And one of the main reasons is because of what you saw in that game against the New York Islanders, where he's, you know, passing up on the empty net to try to hook somebody else up with a goal. And while his intentions may have been pure, if you don't score there and the team goes back down the other way and they score and tie the game, then you are going to look like a huge, huge doofus. And people are going to be crushing you about that decision. There's just something about Nikita Kucherov that the national media is not a fan of. And I doubt that we will ever get to a point again where Kucherov will be league MVP. Unless he has a season where he is undeniably the best player in the game. I don't think he wins another MVP in his entire career because of things like that, because of what happened in the All-Star game last year in the skills competition, because he's not overly friendly with the media. I truly believe that for the rest of his career, that if you can give it to a McKinnon, or you can give it to a McDavid, or you can give it to a Draisaitl, or a Pasternak, or a Makar, or a Connor Hellebuyck, I think that the people involved with the decision-making process in the National Hockey League will find a way not to give it to Nikita Kucherov. And I challenge those writers. I challenge those people that are in those spots to make the decision about who is the league MVP, to put your personal feelings aside and to look at what this guy has done on a year in, year out basis. 5th year in his career now with 100 points. 3rd season in a row. He passes Alexander Ovechkin for most 100-point seasons as a Russian-born player. First winger last year with 100 assists. That's usually something that only happens for centers. And last year, leading the majority of the season when it came to points, that didn't matter. It was Nathan McKinnon's award. It was his turn. That's what I heard at the All-Star break. Not after the season, not with 10 games to go. I heard that at the All-Star break. I heard that before the skills competition last year in Toronto. It's McKinnon's turn. It's Nate's turn. He hasn't won one yet. We got to get him in there. Nathan McKinnon is a fantastic hockey player. Top 5 player in the league, no doubt. Love watching him play. This is a guy that is filled with skill, speed, strength. I would take him in a heartbeat on my team. But last year, it was an injustice that Nikita Kucherov wasn't the league MVP, especially with a guy like Andrei Vasilevsky missing the first 20 games of the season due to injury. Everybody says, oh, he's a power play merchant. He gets all these empty net tallies. That really pads his stat line. Go look at the 5-on-5 stats this year. Nikita Kucherov and Nathan McKinnon. Go check them out. Go look. Kuch has more. Across the board. Kucherov has played in less games than Nathan McKinnon. And right now, as of recording this show, they have the same amount of points. They have the same amount of points. Okay, let's look at it again. I have it for you right here. Points. Nikita Kucherov, 109. Nathan McKinnon, 109. And I know this year, they'll probably give it to Draisaitl. It's Draisaitl's time, guys. He's won it before, but it's his time again. He's got 51 goals and 53 assists. It's his time. I mean, he's got Connor McDavid, the best player in the world on his team, who has 90 points. But let's give it to Leon Draisaitl. It's his time, guys. All right, well, we have Brandon Hagel's got 81 points, so he's got 13th most in the league. Well, tied for 11th, excuse me. But McKinnon, 109, he's second. Cale Makar's got 84, he's 10th. Leon Draisaitl, 104 points, he's third. Connor McDavid, 6th with 90th. So when you compare Kuch with Draisaitl and with McKinnon, the top three, he's the only one that doesn't have another guy in the top 10. He's also, a guy that when you look at his ability to play in the Atlantic Division, top tier minutes, 7 power play goals. Leon's got 15. Just looking at some of these things. Oh, he's got 40 power play points, which I believe is number 1 in the game. I don't know why that's such a bad thing. I don't understand. Kuch has got 9 game-winning goals. Leon's got 11. Pretty damn good. Listen, Draisaitl's a great player. Don't get me wrong. But I think when you talk about most valuable player versus the best player in the league, that discussion needs to be ratified a little bit, and it needs to be a little bit more in depth. Power play merchant. That's what happens. You're a great player and you're good. Like, that's a bad thing. I don't understand how that's such a bad thing. Like 5-on-5 points. It's not an award for like best 5-on-5 player. And when you look at the Lightning's power play, it hasn't even been as good as it has in years past. You want to call him a power play merchant? Look at what the numbers are this year compared to years past. And oh yeah, you lost your tag team partner on the power play in Steven Stamkos. And Kuch is still putting up points. So I don't think we're going to see another year where Nikita Kucherov wins league MVP. There's just too much damage between he and the writers and the decision makers. They're just not going to give it to him. They're always going to try to find a narrative. These guys and gals will always try to find a narrative to put somebody else above him. It's going to be personal. He doesn't talk to me in the media. Look at what he did in this play. Look at what he did here. I don't like him. Watch. Just watch. Watch him not even be a finalist for the MVP this year. Watch. It'll be Hellebuck, Draisaitl, and McKinnon. Watch. They'll find a way to keep Nikita out. If that happens, I am going to lose my mind. Lightning, big win over the New York Islanders at home. Of course, they host them tomorrow night there at the UBS Arena on Long Island. Shout out to the Tampa Bay Rays and what they were able to do, winning 2 of 3. Good to see them get off on the right foot. They're back in action tonight at Steinbrenner Field, 7:05, taking on the Pirates. Drew Rasmussen toes the slab for the Rays. They're 2-1. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. As much as you love to see the home runs from certain guys, whether it's game winners or whether it's in the middle of the game, so what Lau did, having a guy like Jose Caballero and having some of these guys playing small ball, putting the ball on the grounds, that is going to be key for this team's success this season. Kind of looking at some of the stats so far. Rortvedt, good to see Rortvedt get out there. Walls 2 for 9. Morel 2 for 5. He made a really nice catch over the weekend too. And another example of why spring training and the bigs are 2 totally different things. Curtis Mead makes the team out of camp because he was on a tear in spring training and he's 0 for his first 6. Gets the start on opening day leading off. Even Yandy Diaz, 2 for 14, struggling early on. You have to avoid that slow start. I mentioned that before the season started. You have to continue to push forward and find different ways to win. With the starting pitching, guy like Drew Rasmussen out there, he's going to give you everything he has. He's going to be around the strike zone. He's going to let the defense do their thing. But the offense has to show up early on in the season, especially the Yankees with the torpedo bats. They found a way. Look at some of the other teams in the division right now and looking at the standings, with the Yankees clearly in first with 3 straight wins over the Milwaukee Brewers, the Rays 2-1, Orioles 2-2, Blue Jays 2-2, and the Red Sox 1-3. Just keep on trucking, keep winning series. You hear that from Kevin Cash. You've heard it from him for years. It's not necessarily about like the games and specifically, it's about winning the series. Take 2 of 3, take 3 of 4. And that's something that they really didn't do last season early on, and they fell behind. And then you really couldn't have that mantra the rest of the way because you're playing catch up. You were trying to get to 500 and over 500. The only way you do that is by winning like 7 of 9 and 8 of 10. And you don't want to be playing catch up in a division like this. You want to make sure that your foot is on the gas pedal from the jump. So let's hope playing against a team like the Rockies, playing against a team like the Pirates, not 2 of the powerhouses when it comes to teams in the major leagues. Hopefully they can get to a point where they're winning these series. They're winning and they're staying in front of the Orioles and the Blue Jays and the Red Sox and doing their thing and, put themselves in a position to make the postseason when the calendar turns to August and September. Not the only wins coming over this weekend. You look at USF baseball as well. I was on the call Saturday on ESPN Plus. My goodness. And I said it before and I'll say it again. Coach Mitch Hannes, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he wins the Coach of the Year in the American Athletic Conference. They were picked 7th in the league. 7th. Tulane was picked 3rd. USF had 1 player that had preseason honors. That was Rafael Betancourt. Now you look at this team for the green and gold, led by Corey Braun on Friday night. That kid has been amazing. Complete game shutout Friday night, 3-0 victory over Tulane. That dude, he's been one of the best pitchers in the country, no doubt. And for them to not only win that game, but to win a back-and-forth affair on Saturday and then yesterday's game, my God. Down 2-0, they come back, they tie it up, and then they just keep on hitting. They keep on hitting. And first time that they've swept Tulane in Tampa, I think first time that they've swept them at all since 1993. Best conference start since 2015. They're 5-1 in the American Athletic Conference. This is huge. This is huge for Coach Mitch Hannes and Daniel Schlereth and just everybody involved with the Bulls. They're on the road, I think, the next couple of weeks. But when they come back, hopefully with some wins in their pocket, go usfbulls.com. Go get your tickets today. And find a way, man. Find a way to get out there to Red McEwen Field at the USF Baseball and Softball Complex. Maybe if you get lucky, you can get a ticket and watch both of the games. It is certainly a lot of fun. USF Softball, they battle back. They were down 7-2 in the 7th. They come back. 2-run home run by Alana Rivera, 3-run home run by Dania Brooks to tie the game at 7. Unfortunately, even though they scored 3 in the 8th, they had a drop dead time of 3:10 Eastern Standard Time because they had to fly back and get back to Tampa. So they had to revert the score back to the 7th inning. It's a 7-7 tie. But hey, at least it's not a loss on the ledger. But again, Dania Brooks, Derek Brooks, double nickel, his daughter, is going to join us on the program at 2:15 tomorrow. So we'll ask her what it's like to be on a team coached by Ken Erickson and the comeback against Wichita State, what it's like to play the hot corner for the Bulls, being able to really swing it. She's had some struggles early on in the season, but she's done so much better as the year has gone on. And I interviewed Allison Harbaugh a couple of weeks ago from USF Women's Lacrosse. They won again, big win over Vanderbilt. What is it like to play, to have a dad that, is so highly touted, especially Dania, grown up here in the Tampa Bay area. Her dad being a Hall of Famer and a Buccaneers legend, and he's at every game. What is that like, and how is she able to kind of carve out her own legacy here in the Tampa Bay area? So a lot of good things there, just win after win after win in Tampa. It's great. So again, you just joined us. Nikita Kucherov named the NHL's first star of the week, practicing today over at the TGH Iceplex there in Brandon. Two guys that were missing today, Nick Paul and Luke Glendening. And I guess the words were from John Cooper is that they had some very happy family news. What a great thing. They're both have exciting family news, and that's why they're not at practice this morning. How great is that? How great is that? So shout out to the Paul family, to the Glendening family. I'll always remember Nick Paul and when he got traded here. I've said this before, but just the way that Tampa Bay opened his arms and Stammer reached out to, I think it was his then girlfriend or fiance, Stammer's wife reached out to her to welcome her into the crew. And that's something that has not changed. I had a discussion with one of the security guards there at Amalie Arena a couple of days ago, and he was telling me about how tight-knit these groups are, whether it was, the McDonoughs or the Hedmans. And you saw it Thursday over there at Amalie Arena when Kevin Shattenkirk was there, Ryan Callahan was there. Everybody was in town to celebrate Ryan McDonough, and they had a great celebration and a great, just a great event there on Saturday to commemorate Mac, and he's just so well-deserved, such a nice guy. Shout out to Ryan Callahan and the Ryan Callahan Foundation for Friday nights. What went on there? We had our event to help raise money for families affected by pediatric cancer over at Armature Works. Everybody, excuse me, a long weekend. Yeah. Everybody dressed up like cowboys. No, I don't think anybody got a picture of me dressed up like a cowboy. I have the picture I should probably delete it. But yeah, I've got the picture dressed up like a cowboy, and I'm not going to show because I know my friends will all make fun of me, but it is the way it is. And again, raised almost if not over $500,000 for those families affected by pediatric cancer. And Ryan Callahan, Kyla Callahan, what they do, just go to the RyanCallahanFoundation.org. Just go check them out. Go check out what they do and some of the stories about these families. There was a lady here that one of the stories that they played were the family here in the Tampa Bay area and the young child and how it affects not just him, but the entire family. This youngster had cancer, and Kyla was interviewing the mom, and she was discussing that when her other two kids get home from school, they have to immediately take off their clothes in like the garage area or like in the laundry room area and immediately take a shower because their brother's immune system is compromised. How this young boy cannot eat the same food as his brothers and sisters and his mom and dad, and how they have to just have these doctor's visits, and how the mom can't work during the day because she's got to stay with the kids. So she's an on-call nurse at night. She leaves at all hours to help out other people and to obviously keep food on the table and a house over their heads. So when you see stories like that, that's the type of story that I looked at and I said, that's why I have to get involved. So if you did not contribute, if you did not help this year, the Ryan Callahan Foundation with their gala, I implore you to do whatever that you can to help out next year and moving forward, whether it's a donation of any amount, every little bit helps, because those stories, and after just being there 3 or 4 years, it's a punch in the gut, man. It's a punch in the gut to see those families and what they have to deal with. And we joke about it a lot of like, you want a kid with red hair, you want a kid with blonde hair, black hair, brown hair, what color eyes, what does he look like? You look more like the mom, more like the dad. You want him to be tall. You want him to be a good singer, a dancer, athlete. The most important thing is that your kid's healthy. And when you see these stories of these people and you just listen to these parents, like, what do? Like, they look so helpless. And I'm not saying that to be degrading or mean. It's real. And it shakes you to your core to be able to see what these people are going through. So the fact that Kyla and Ryan and this entire foundation notices that when a child gets afflicted with cancer, it's not just the child that gets affected, it's the family. It's the car payments, it's the groceries, it's the other kids have to change their entire life to accommodate their sibling that is dealing with such a horrible disease. RyanCallahanFoundation.org, please do whatever you can to help out, not just this year, but moving forward. Let's take a look at the Final Four from over the weekend. How are your brackets looking? I'm going to look up mine right now while you're here with me. I tell you what, I of course I picked Alabama. I'm out, but I did a decent job. 87 percentile. Man, Jay Billis 94%. Gosh darn. Jay Williams 93. Reese Davis 90. I thought I did good. Stephen A 74. The unmitigated goal. Stephen A 74. Got to be kidding me. Man, Mike Greenberg 58. Just looking at some of these ESPN personalities. Scott Van Pelt 49. I guess it makes me feel a little bit better about myself. Mad Dog Russo 34.5. 87.1%. Not too bad for me. I had Alabama going all the way. I wanted to be different. And I just thought that the veteran leadership, I thought that Mark Sears and Chris Youngblood and then Phylon, the youngster, I thought those three guys are going to be a problem. But I did not take into account Duke's backcourt. And in my mind, what could be the deepest Duke team in my lifetime, to be able to watch how they not just play offense, but they defend. My God. And it's so much more than Cooper Flagg. I wasn't necessarily thrilled with how he played offensively. I thought he crashed the boards. He had 9 total, all defensive. He had 3 assists. He had a block. I thought he played much better defense as well, but he only shot 6 for 16. I mean, you look at Malawach, what he was able to do, 14 points, 9 rebounds. He is a monster. He's a stat stuffer. 14 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks. And for all the talk, I feel like Con Kneppel flies under the radar. He probably didn't against Alabama in this game, but he's your prototypical Duke dude that can shoot. 2 for 4 from 3, 6 for 15 from the field, 21 solid points. And Tyrese Proctor, again, I think he was the unsung hero of that game. 7 of 10 from the field. So consistent. And a lot of talk about Mark Sears and Chris Youngblood and all the backcourt of Alabama. But Tyrese Proctor's like, yeah, don't forget about me. And then when you look at Sion James, he does all the dirty work. Another 7 rebounds from him. And they can go to the bench. And Ngongba's a big dude. Caleb Foster came away with a couple of 3 assists in that game. Really nice pass down low. Gillis gave him a couple of minutes. And listen, Duke's going to be a handful. And I feel like we're on a collision course for Duke and Florida. Right? Auburn is a good team. You beat Michigan State 70-64. 2 well-coached teams. You know, shout out to Michigan State, man. They're down 9 at the half. They could have packed it in, but we know a team coached by Tom Izzo, that's just not going to happen. Broome goes down with an injury, but he comes back. I know there was fans that have been screaming War Eagle for the last couple of months that were holding their breath when Broome went out, but he comes back, 25 points. You know how good he is. It really works. You have guys on the outside. You have those guards that can really, really defend, right? I know that is a staple, and you have Pettiford coming off the bench, playing 27 minutes for you. But I love the interview that happened before the game between Bruce Pearl and Tom Izzo, and the ability for those guys to just do that interview. But there's a toughness when you get to that level. That's the great thing about college hoops is you get to that level. And you heard Coach Oates from Alabama speak after the game about Duke of, yeah, man, we did this, and then they did this, and then we did this, and then they did this. And it's like we try to adjust here, and we try to get Malawach farther away from the basket, and then made a couple threes, but then they adjusted. Then they started switching ball screens. And it's just like, that's where it's at, man. You look at what Coach Sampson was able to do, right, with Houston. You look at what Coach Golden was able to do with the Gators. Like, there's adjustments. There's such in-game adjustments that these coaches make. It's the best of the best. It's the cream of the crop. I don't see anything wrong with what happened this year in March Madness on the men's side, and I'm excited that these are the 4 teams because this is This is going to be 3 heavyweight fights. 3 heavyweight fights, the 2 semifinals and the final. 4 good coaches, 2 veterans, 2 quote-unquote newbies. They're going to have their teams ready to go. They all can defend. They can all score. Where's the drawback? Where is the weaknesses for these teams? I don't see it. I don't see it. I think we are in line for some incredible action there in San Antonio for the men's Final Four. And I know we're going to have some great action for the women's Final Four as well here in Tampa. Our good friend Claire Lessinger, she's going to join us here momentarily from the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, because now is one of those times where Team Tampa Bay is going to have the spotlight on it once again. And what the Tampa Bay Sports Commission does to get these activities here, get these events here, but also to execute them at a high level. It's one thing to get people to come to your area. It's another thing to get people to walk away saying, I can't wait to go back. It's that return service. It's that second time they're able to come in. I cannot wait for this weekend. Can't wait to see what the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, just everybody has involved, in store for everybody here, because of one of America's premier sporting events, the NCAA Women's Final Four, coming here to Tampa in April for a record-breaking 4th time. Can you believe that? 4 times. You don't go back to a place like Tampa unless you love it, unless there's a lot of, draws. I mean, people love coming here. And then I was just listening to somebody speak from the Northeast, like, oh, yeah, I don't know. It's snowing where I came from. It was some people at the Callahan fundraiser. Oh, man, it's snowing. It's going to be miserable when we go back. And I'm like, oh, man, sucks for you. Sucks for you. We're here in Tampa. We're enjoying ourselves. We're having a blast. The weather just keeps getting better and better. But, yeah, this is a very, very special time here, and we will have her join us here momentarily because there's a lot of great information, everything that's going on. Let's bring her in now. It's our good friend Claire Lessinger joining the program, the executive director of the Tampa Bay Local Organizing Committee. There's so many different things that she does here for the Tampa Bay area, but we love talking to her and we love catching up. Hello, Claire. How are you?
Hi, Jay. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Look at the background. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Listen,
a few memories up there on the wall.
Just a little bit. And I was just saying that before you hopped on. It's the 4th time, record breaking. And people go, what's like the best event? And I just like, how much time do you have? But I just remember thinking back to some of the coaches for volleyball in the Frozen Four, and even like walking downstairs after the national championship game at 3 a.m. and running into Rob Higgins. like it's not just that they come here. It's that they enjoy it here, and then you guys get the opportunities to do it again. What goes into that entire process of like securing the bid, but also like you got to follow through with it too. It's not just like, hey, we're here, we're happy to be here kind of thing. Like it's got to be an entire, process there.
Yeah, no, 100%. And we always say, like, we don't judge the success of an event on whether we win it. It's whether we win it back. So to have this record 4th Women's Final Four coming back to our community is truly a testament to the way this community rallies in support of these major events. And, to your point, the bid process is extensive. And there's, of course, an RFP that has all of the requirements that any host city has to meet. But our goal is always to kind of exceed, right? Mm-hmm. Exceed those expectations, build in enhancements, find unique ways to leverage our destination and the assets that we have here in Tampa Bay so that student, athlete, guest, visitor, fan experience is like no other place that they can experience. And, it's because of the people. We've got the weather, so there's the warmth there, but it's the warmth of our people and the relationships and the partnerships, that we have been so fortunate to build year after year. And the other thing that I think, has helped us win these events back so many times is there's a lot of continuity in the people in which the event organizers are working with. So the NCAA, in this instance, you still got Rob Higgins, you still got Jason Augie, you still got Tony Diaz, just like Claire Lessinger. Like it's the same people that are, a part of that bid process on the front end are the ones delivering the promises on the back end, along with all of those local organizing committee partners.
Yeah, and then you get the pull from, like, I saw Jose Fernandez throwing out the first pitch, and you had Titus O'Neil's going to drop down from a building somewhere doing something. Like, there's just, and you kind of talked about it a little bit in the beginning there. It's like, even the outside of whatever the event is, right? Like, it doesn't have to just be the basketball community. It doesn't just have to be the volleyball or the hockey community. Like, the entire city, when we have a huge event, really rallies around to put a proper spotlight on the Tampa Bay area. That's got to make you feel good when you're reaching out for, people and saying, hey, we're doing this. It seems like everybody's like, yeah, sure. Whatever we can do.
Yes, you hit it on. You hit it right on the head. And the other thing is, there's so much to do. So when you look at marketing this event, there's so much more outside of those 3 games. And for us and for the NCAA, it's really important that the entire community can access this championship and enjoy it. That's why every one of their fan events are free and family friendly. Is if you can't get that ticket into Amalie Arena, for the semis or the finals, there's 6 other free events you can attend and be a part of the action and be super proud of this Tampa Bay community, whether you live here. And then, of course, for the fans and visitors, we're gonna give them 85-degree weather here in April, and they're gonna have a blast.
It's amazing. I mean, obviously we have the semifinal games on Friday at Amalie, 7 and 9:30. We have the national championship game at 3:00 on Sunday. Team arrivals today and tomorrow. Legacy, community impact, and initiatives on Wednesday. Free fan events launch on Thursday. Saturday, full day of free events, including Bounce, Super Saturday Practice, and a live concert with Glorilla. I mean, and we already know that LSU and South Carolina are locked in. Those are 2 of the
UCLA, South Carolina.
I'm sorry, UCLA. Why do I keep saying LSU? Because of that press conference from Kim Mulkey. It's in my head. That's what it is. She got me. I keep saying LSU.
She was hilarious.
I'm sorry, but she's just on another level. So I love it, because I've been in those situations where somebody asked a question. I looked over. I was like, I would never ask that question. Don't ask that question again. UCLA and South Carolina are already locked in. I mean, it's been incredible to be able to see what Dawn Staley has been able to do there with the Gamecocks. And then we'll find out the other 2 tonight as Texas takes on TCU, and UConn and USC. Have the first 2 teams already gotten here yet?
No, they all arrive tomorrow. So
everybody tomorrow. Okay.
Everybody tomorrow. So we've been working closely, with those transition teams and getting ready for team arrivals, and let the fun begin. It's gonna be amazing. And as you mentioned, these games have been phenomenal. The level of athleticism, the growth of this game, we're so excited to reunite with the NCAA in a time where the growth of our community is at an all-time high, and the growth of this championship and this sport is at an all-time high. And there'll be no shortage of fun to be had.
Other ways, Tourneytown presented by Capital One, a free festival jam-packed with special appearances, interactive games, giveaways, photo ops, basketball contests, food, merch, and more, located at the Tampa Convention Center. That's Thursday to Sunday of this week. How great is that too, Claire? And I've seen it for how many ever events we've had. That Tampa Bay Convention Center right there across the street from Amalie, that hub right there, when it starts going and it is buzzing, it's just it's like the city that never sleeps.
It really doesn't get any better. And there's some really cool new activations, and, credit our destination to be able to kind of reimagine the footprint a little bit. But there's going to be an outdoor court this year at Tourneytown, right there in the Circle Drive at the convention center. There's an enormous bracket downtown right by Greco Plaza, by the streetcar. They've been moving the teams. So the Final Four teams, it's a great photo op. But yes, leveraging that compact, accessible, walkable footprint that we like to call Championship Campus. Mm-hmm. The convention center is right in the nucleus of that.
One thing that I love is that even amongst all the great events, like there's always like a give back to the community. And that's something that I know there's expected to be over 30,000 people there this weekend. But from Reed to the Final Four to the Legacy Court of the Tampa Rec Center at Julian B. Lane Park to the KYAL Cancer Fund significant support of Moffitt Cancer Center, the Women's Final Four once again leave an indelible mark on Tampa Bay. We know that KYAL, Coach, it's been such a profound impact. You see it pretty much every year. We know USF and Coach Jose Fernandez, and we know that it's a big, point of emphasis for him every year to recognize that for you, somebody that is here in the Tampa Bay area, to be able to not just put on an event, but to be able to do things to give back, to impact other people. I know that's got to be near and dear to your heart.
It absolutely is, and it's a priority. These major events drive huge, significant economic impact, of course, to our area and region, but the social impact and the community initiatives that come alongside them and leave this everlasting impact long after that confetti falls is really what it's all about. We want people to be talking about the 2025 NCAA Women's Final Four forever in our community, and it'll start with programs and initiatives like the Legacy Project, which is a renovated court at that rec center at Julian B. Lane Park that's going to impact and affect lives, in a need-based community for a very long time. To your point, it's endless. We have Read to the Final Four. We'll have over 840 kids from Hillsborough County Public Schools coming to Tourneytown to celebrate their winning challenges. We have Beyond the Baseline, which is a women's empowerment initiative that will be 3 full days of programming in Tourneytown to inspire, the next generation of girls and women in sports. So it's incredible. And some of this lives on in our community well after the championship. And it also travels with this championship to other host cities. So it's fantastic.
Love that. And Claire, there's certain moments I feel you remember how they, like, other people are able to enjoy a certain moment where they get the spotlight on them. And maybe not everybody's like that, but for me, I love seeing people that I consider friends and colleagues get honored in a way where that all the eyes are on them. And we saw that with you earlier, or last week now. Women in Sports Night, Amalie Arena. It's Mikhail Sergachev's return. So everybody is cheering. Everybody's so happy. Him and Victor have been there smiling. And you had the opportunity to drop the ceremonial first puck at Amalie Arena. I was so happy for you because you are such a important person to our community. I mean, you are an example, not just for women, but for people in our area, that you can achieve your dreams and you can come home and you can give back and you can do so many good things. Every single time you post something on social media, it's you doing something positive for our community. So to see you get that opportunity to drop that puck on that night, I don't know if they could have picked a better person. What was that like for you to be there with the spotlight on you, with, obviously everybody was cheering for Sergey and Hetty, and it's just like, that's just it's a moment that I won't forget from covering sports for over a decade here. And I'm sure it was a special moment for you.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And wow. Thank you for all of the nice, I have chills kind of reliving it. It was surreal in many ways. And I mean, the Lightning, what they do for our community, and they shine, the light bright on many others. It was super humbling, but I'd shared, it was incredible what they did for so many organizations that night. I was just fortunate and lucky to kind of represent a handful of them. But, for our press pass girls to get recognized in that future, generation of girls that are looking to go into sports broadcasting, to WISE, our local Women in Sports and Events chapter, they got recognized and we had a great sizzle in game, to so many organizations and women that were, running the show that night.
Yeah.
Hats off to the Lightning for shining a light on us. And I was, again, just so grateful to kind of represent a large community of great, great women. And I'm just literally love being a part of it.
Yeah. And listen, your whole crew over there with the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. And I want to ask you about Rob Higgins real fast. We know Rob has been dealing with his health. He's been very public about it, and the way that he's still able to kind of put on those work boots and to still do whatever he can. And just every single time you guys are involved with an event, we know it's going to be successful. I've been here in 20 years. I've been here in the Tampa Bay area. And anytime I know the Tampa Bay Sports Commission or anybody that's involved with the Sports Commission is going to be around, we know that it's going to be fun. We know that everybody's going to feel welcome and a part of it. But obviously we know Rob, being the executive director, I mean, just what he does, and he's on the face of a lot of these things. What does his leadership do for your group and for our area to put us in a position that we have the opportunity to, have that spotlight on us?
I mean, one, he's the most incredible leader and teammate, and the culture that exists within the walls of the sports commission. I think bleeds out into our community because of him. He has created Team Tampa Bay and, the culture that exists within Team Tampa Bay. He's so innovative. He's brilliant. the relationships that he maintains, because it's always about others. It's customer first all the time. And he leads by example, because he's just constantly figuring out how to reinvent and innovate what we do, how we do it, but always making sure that we're true to who we are, and how, we execute these major events and the people that we rely on to do it, and making sure that at every turn, there is no stone unturned. And literally, like, he's a grinder, and relentless, and he has clearly persevered. He gives us all wings around here. But you just watch him work, and it inspires you to work that much harder. But we all share a common goal here with a common passion and common purpose. And so much of that has to do with his leadership that just trickles down and bleeds out into the community.
Claire, we obviously have the women coming this weekend, but on the men's side, your Gators, they're in there.
Am I allowed to talk about them?
I had Bennett Andersen on to start the show today. The team manager turned into he's like the pop culture hero now, Bennett Andersen. How amazing is that to be able to see Coach Golden come here and just a couple of years into his tenure? 4 number 1 seeds. It is pretty incredible on the men's side.
It is. It's been fun to watch. Clearly, being a USF volleyball coach for 12 years, I'm a Bull too at heart, but I bleed a little orange and blue, and it's been awesome to see that program turn around. And what an incredible team! Like, just watching them play together, you can tell by their cohesion and the leadership. They have a ton of talent, but this team's a special team, and it's been fun to watch and follow. And the tougher the situation, the greater they shine and the greater they play. And we'll see if they can bring it home.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You mentioned USF. I actually went to a couple of volleyball games this year. And as a guy, like, volleyball's in our family. So I played 4 years in high school, because they don't have, boys high school volleyball as much in other parts of the country. But for some reason on Long Island, they did. So I played 4 years. My brother played 4 years. Both of my sisters played 4 years. It was the perfect time, because it was between hockey and baseball for me. And it was the greatest thing, because if I passed the ball, 500 to 750 times before practice every day, I was in a great position to field ground balls. So
yes.
It was such a great utilization of some of my other, muscles. But to see the coaching, not just with volleyball, but everything at USF, you've been there, and to see what Michael Kelly's done there for our area, to see now with the new men's basketball coach, and to see what Jose Fernandez and Coach Erickson that have recognized nationally. I feel like we speak so much about Team Tampa Bay with the pro side, but man, what USF and of course what UT does, like, it really is everybody here in Team Tampa Bay. There's a lot of branches on that tree.
There are a lot of success stories, a lot of momentum, and great leadership. Like, I think it comes back to that, right? Like, you mentioned Michael Kelly and what he's done there, and the coaches that he's recruited there, and the success that he's instilled is a direct reflection of his leadership and the team that he's built around him. And then to see 2 new women's sports get added out there too, with lacrosse and beach volleyball on the horizon. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time to be a Bull. It's an exciting time for women's sports. It's an exciting time for Team Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I said something the other day of, like, I was excited for women's lacrosse, but I didn't realize that they were just going to be smacking people. Like,
it's physical.
It is amazing. But Minnie McCord and her husband, they've done such a great job. They have Sophia Chepnik, who's one of the best scorers in the entire conference. Like, it's amazing.
And she sings the national anthem.
She's so multi-talented. I had her on the show a couple of weeks ago, and my goodness, like, you want to talk about a person that's going to make an impact in 1 year. Sophia's definitely doing that. I told her that such. I said, you're doing incredible things. And there's a lot of, and I know you see this too, me growing up with 2 sisters that went to my fair share of baton twirling competitions in softball and volleyball. Those young girls, they have more and more people to look up to. And it is a lot different now in 2025 than when I was a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s. It's just so crazy to see the opportunities, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. You're 100%. Like, if you can see her, you can be her. I know we've been talking about that for years now. But truly, like, young girls are growing up seeing women in all sorts of different roles, but also my boys. I've got two, teenagers. They're growing up in a time, in a generation where women's sports are on TV every day, and that's the norm. And there's just the way that they look at life from an equity standpoint is so different than how we grew up, and these opportunities that exist, and the way brands are leaning into this and investing. And I mean, look at what the Bucks just did, with their women's summit and their She Is Football weekend. I mean, unprecedented types of momentum and investment and growth that's taking place that is just so awesome to see.
Yeah, it's funny because I think it's 5 years now that I've tried to do a show either the day of or the day before the International Women's Day. And this year I had such a tough time of getting anybody, yourself, locally, because everybody was at the Bucks event.
Everyone was there.
I guess this is a good reason to have a tough time.
800 women. It was mind-blowing.
Unbelievable. Did we get all the information for the Final Four this weekend? I want to make sure that we don't leave anything out. UCLA and South Carolina already in. We got Texas against TCU and UConn against USC. Did we get all the info? Do we have any website?
You got all the info. You highlighted all of those ancillary events, but Super Saturday, like, to just hit it home again, is 6 free events on Saturday. You literally start at Curtis Hickson Park for the bounce, which you can then go to Tourneytown for the Fan Fest, and you can work your way to Cote Okeechobee for Party on the Plaza. Then you can head in the arena for Super Saturday practices for the championship teams, all the way back, well, full circle to Curtis Hickson Park for Super Saturday night concert, all on Saturday.
Beautiful. Unbelievable. Make sure you head on out there. It's going to be over 30,000 people. You need to be one of them this weekend. Claire Lessinger, Executive Director, Tampa Bay Local Organizing Committee, and just one badass woman. I think you should get a business card. Tell Rob, badass woman on there, and we'll go from there. Claire, appreciate your time. Give my love to Rob and everybody over there, and have a great, it's going to be a crazy week. So make sure
it's going to be awesome. We're going to soak it up.
Make sure when you're done with this week, you take a vacation or take a nap or one of those things. But we couldn't have a better group, with yourself included, leading the charge here. So thanks again for the time. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Jay.
You got it. The best of the best. This is what we do here on the Jay Recher podcast. The best, not just what these people do on and off the court, on and off the field, but the best people, man. These are the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with. Yeah, it's an inspiration. And when I saw Claire drop that puck, it's like there's certain things you see in life, whether it's on TV or it's in person, and just like that just fits so. It was just so poetic. It was so beautiful. It was just the right person. And just go look up Claire. Just go look at all the things that she's done in her career, in her life, and like you'll just read them and your jaw is just going to drop. And if you have a little girl out there, if you have a daughter that is in sports or out of sports and she's looking, I mean, there's just so much more representation now. It's not a charity to have women involved in sports. It's just, that's what it is. And I'm glad that this is the era that we live in now, because it wasn't always like this. It was always like, oh, well, she's good for a girl. Like, I would never say that, but people would say like cringy things like that. Oh, there's just one girl here. It's not like that, man. There are females littered all around the sports world, and it's just not women's sports either. And I think that's beautiful here, not just in the Tampa Bay area but abroad. Speaking of one of those females, we're going to have Dania Brooks on the program at 2:15 tomorrow, USF softball slugger. She's going to join us on the program as well. Any other news in the Tampa area before we get out of here? Other than Nikita Kucherov getting the #1 star. Let's see. Anything else? No. All right. Well, things to remember. Keep an eye out if we have an announcement today, tomorrow, next couple of days, maybe Isaac Howard, because you're starting to see more and more of these college players signing with teams. Taylor McCarr goes to Colorado from, I think it was Maine. Is it Maine? Is that Kale's little brother? It's got to be, right? Only thing better than one McCarr is two McCarrs. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. And then, we'll see. Gabe Perreault looks like he could possibly be joining the New York Rangers, maybe. but I'm keeping a close eye on Isaac Howard. It may take a little bit longer than everybody else. You send him to the minors and you probably won't see him with the team this year. I just don't see how that's going to happen. I think they're going to find a way, and I wouldn't be surprised if Julian's working on it right now. What can we do to find a way to get some cap space? We can get Isaac Howard up with the club and have him skate over these last 10 games or so we can join the team for the playoff run. All right, a big thank you to everybody that joined us on the program today, including Bennett Andersen. Good luck to the Gators in the Final Four. Our guy Ian Beckles for his daily trip. Also, Matt Joyce doing a lot of great things. Great to hear about the torpedo bat and his thoughts on the Rays and what stadium, like the kind of stadium that he would build to make it work. And, of course, Claire Lessinger from the Tampa Bay Sports Commission with everything going on this weekend. Go check it out, man. It's going to be so much fun Saturday all day. It starts at Curtis Hickson Park. Just go downtown, walk around. If you're looking for something to do, get outside, have a good time. That is what we do here in the Tampa Bay area. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. I appreciate everybody. You guys are the best. We'll see you tomorrow right here at noon